Well, good morning and welcome to week 4 of English 7B. We have 2 weeks and 3.5 days left in our course. We, of course, are on day 17 of 30. Today is 5:23, and we are going to talk about your next 2 projects. Obviously, or perhaps not obviously, we are going to focus on our project for this week, for Project 4. But Project 4 and 5 are directly connected, which is great. So, what is our agenda? Our agenda is to find out what is Project 4. By the end of the session, you're going to know what Project 4 is, what poems and poems you should choose or can choose, and a few reminders for your course. Let's go back up here. So we're going to read the prompt below, and it's going to tell us what Project 4 is. So Project 4 is this. I'd like you to write a 5-paragraph research paper on your favorite poem and the poet that wrote it. The poem should be something you enjoy or the work of a poet you admire. Remember, there are poems out there on everything. Pretty much everything. Heavy metal to baseball. If you don't have a poem, a favorite poem or a poet, click here for a list of poems you can choose from. I will click on that in a moment because I have made a listing for all of you. Your poem should focus on 3 aspects. Your paper, not your poem. You don't have to write a poem. Who is the author? Tell me about the author. Tell me about the meaning of the poem and the theme of the poem. All 3 of these things you can find out much more about by doing research on the internet. You will need 3 sources for your research paper, none of them which include Wikipedia. No using Wikipedia. I love looking at Wikipedia, but just don't use it as a source for your academic papers. So what we're going to do is I'm going to now click here on the project outline. If this looks familiar, it should. I sent out something that looks almost exactly like this yesterday, so you have these links yourself. So I'm going to go and attempt to open this Project 4 essay framework. So basically, this is the recipe for the cake that is your paper. So, Project 4 essay framework. Or basically, kind of just what it looks like. So this really is going to help you a lot. So why don't I try to make it a little bit larger so that you can see it? We've got our attention grabber, which we always have. Background. Thesis, which we always have. Your first paragraph should be answering this. I love this, but it gives you really literally what you need to do. Number 1 paragraph. Author. Here are some great examples of what you could use for the author. Here's body paragraph 2. The author should be answering the question, what is the poem about? That you can look and decide on yourself, and you can use the internet. What is important to me is that when you write something about the meaning of the poem, is that you somewhat agree or you somewhat see what it is the research is saying about the poem. If you don't get it at all, if you look at the poem and you say, I don't get it, so you look, let's say for example, you looked at O Captain, My Captain, and then you come to find out that Walt Whitman wrote that as an elegy, which of course is an admired, sad poem to a deceased person. You can make that connection. Oh, I get it. He was the ship was the United States, and he's a father-like figure, and he was a captain of the country. I get it. But if you read a poem and you do some research and you say, I don't understand what those connections are at all, then skip it. You don't have to 100% understand the connections. Okay, you have a topic sentence, evidence, commentary, and then finally 3. This should be answering the question, what is the theme? So let's go ahead and look at this. What is the theme of the poem? Again, you can go ahead and do research on that. And remember, everybody, a theme is very much like the idea of a cliche, love conquers all, or A great man will be missed, or the captain is lying cold and dead. The theme itself can be in the poem. So for those of you listening to this, I really recommend thinking about it that way. The theme actually could be within the poem itself. Your conclusion and your works cited page, or just at the bottom. You can be fine with that. So that is literally what it's going to look like. And this is in the email that I sent you, and I will be sending it again. So now we're going to go back. Oops, that was the wrong one. I wanted to go to the Word document that I was playing with. And now we're going to go up and talk just about the poets. So what we have talked about so far is what is Project 4 and how to do it. Oh, so this is a good one, but that's not the one I want to use. I want to use a different one. Excuse me. Thought I had changed that link. I created a link for you all of 25 famous poems and poets. I want to make it extremely clear. You do not have to use any of these. Please, if you would like to ask me a question, please do. You do not have to use any of these. These are not required. They are my way of saying there's thousands and thousands and thousands of poems out there. So here are some suggested ones. And I put some photos in here as well. And by the way, along with these poems, I have created this link here at poemhunter.com. Great! That tells you a lot about the poets that you are looking for. This won't necessarily answer all your questions, but it's a good start. So that's connected here. So let's start with Snow, which is right up here. And then they just keep going. There's some that are very famous, like Robert Frost is a very, very famous poet. Some are more for girls, and some are more for boys, and some are more for sports, and some are more for art, and some are more for different ethnicities, and some are more for for people who like the older language or the newer language. I wouldn't object to you using any rap lyrics, as long as, of course, they are school appropriate and also gender appropriate. All right. Hi, Isaac. So, for example, Tupac was a very good poet. But these are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful poems that I've included here. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. We'll go over it again, really. I'll go over the highlights of it, really, again. So what I'm talking about right now, and this is a nice opportunity for any of you listening, is I'm going through a list of poems that you can link to on these right here. You can link to anything that's blue is a link to the poem, and you can look at these poems. But I want to make sure that you know that these are not required. You do not have to use these poems. They're just suggestions for you. Here's a Tupac Shakur one that I mentioned. A Dream Within a Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. Oranges, Still I Rise by Maya Angelou, which is a beautiful poem. And The Ghosts, So You Want to Be a Writer. Do Not Go Gently Into the Night. We Real Cool. I Died for Beauty, but was scarce. Another one by Edgar Allan Poe. And then finally, here we have another one, but you already know that one, so I won't be having you write on that one. But here are many poems. So I'm going to go backwards. So thank you very much, Diamond. I appreciate your patience. So let's go backwards. These are not required, but these are 24 possible poems for you to do. I've also given you a link here where you can find most of the poets. And remember, you do research on the poems and the poets, but you cannot use Wikipedia as a source in your academic environment. So that is, and this is in the email that I sent you yesterday. Let's go. This is the project framework. And basically, this is helping you on everything. You fill in right next to every single one of these, and you will get an A. You do your attention grabber of your poem or poet, background, thesis statement. Then you talk about the author's background, which of course you can research, and all sorts of things that you can give examples for, and what you think of this person. The next one is, what's it about? And again, you can do research on it. And if you find a poem and you do research on it and it tells you it's basically about this, and you don't connect to that one at all, like 0%, I'd say move on. If you connect to it kind of, like, I kind of get it. I can see that Captain is Abe Lincoln. I can see that. Then go ahead and keep it. You can, again, pick any poem you want and any poet, as long as it's school appropriate. The third paragraph would be about the theme. And the fourth paragraph would be the theme, and the fifth paragraph is your conclusion and your works cited page. And this is how you cite your work. Remember to use 3 different citations. I would say 99% or 100% of students will be using the websites, but who knows? You might use something else. But this is how you do it. And if you have any questions about citations, I want you to contact me. So this is in the email that I sent yesterday. Did you get that? Well, that's why you're here, right? I think that's why you're here. And I'm going to show you where that is. So this framework you have, oops, wrong one, is right here. So this is what I sent out yesterday, and this is also in your announcements, guys. It's also in your announcements. So you can go to your announcements, and right there you'll have that whole entire email. It's got the same poetry thing as this does. So let's take this, your 25 poems. You don't have to use these poets again. So we'll go back to this, and I'm going to change it right here for that to be that. Edit hyperlink. I'm going to make it something different. And boom. So that is where, I did the wrong thing, didn't I? It needs to be here is where I change the poets. Anyway, I will. Yes, that's funny. So today is number 17. And let's go down to the bottom here. So now that I've covered what Project 4 is, let's talk about a little bit more, just some reminders. Make sure you do your async surveys. So shortly after this, I will send out the survey. If you're still not clear why the grade drops from day to day, if you haven't done something, talk to me about it. You definitely can always do your student guide, and that is at the bottom of every one of your sync surveys. And if you haven't completed projects, please try to do so because it's a very large portion of your grade. So, do I have questions? Questions. Any questions from y'all? No? Do you feel confident? Do you have a poet/poem? You can pick the poet first. You can pick the poem first. If you do not, either one of you, that is okay. If you do, let me know. You don't have to tell me who. Just do you? Yes and yes. Oh, fantastic. Again, poetry is something for everyone. It's not yet, almost though. Good. And I hope some of my additional suggestions have helped. I showed you some real classics. Like I said, some are older, some are newer, female, male, all that kind of thing. So I want to thank you for coming to our session, and I'm glad that you were able to find some good information in the session. So I will be sending out the Sync survey in a little while, and I want to thank you for attending. Have a great day.